Let's find our place. Okay, so a little review. So we've talked about Beats, and then we went to Seattle and we met Priscilla, and then we traveled to New Orleans. We met Valou and Madame de Valliere, and then we went to Paris and met the two brothers, or no, they're cousins. All of these people are involved in perfumery, and they all received a mysterious beat. So now we are on part 2, the hair, like Hair, and the bean. The hair and the bean. So it says the citadel was dark, and the heroes were sleeping. When they breathed, it sounded as if they were testing the air for dragon smoke. On their sofas of spice and feathers, the concubines also slept fretfully. In those days, the earth was still flat, and people dreamed often of falling over the edges. Blacksmiths hammered the edge serpent on the anvils of their closed eyelids. Wheelwrights rolled it, tail in mouth, down the cart roads of their slumber. Cooks roasted it in dream pits. Seamstresses sewed it to the badger hides that covered them. The court necromancer traced its condors in the constellation of straw on which he tossed. Only the babes in the nursery lay peacefully passive, even to the fleas that supped on their tenderness. King Alabar did not sleep at all. He was awake as the guards at the gate. More awake, actually, for the guards mused dreamily about mead, boiled beets, and captive women as their eyes patrolled the forested horizon. While the king was as conscious as an unsheathed knife, coldly conscious and warmly troubled. Beside him, inside the ermine blankets, his great hound, Mick, and his wife, Alma. His great hound, Mick, and his wife, Alma, snoozed the night away, oblivious to their lord's distress. Well, let them snore, for neither the dog's tongue nor the wife's for neither the dog's tongue nor the wife's could lap the furrows from his brow, although he had sent for Alma that evening mainly because of was regretting his choice. He should have summoned Wren, his favorite wife, for though Wren lacked Alma's special sexual skills, she knew his heart. He could confide in Wren without fear that his disclosures would be woven into common gossip on the concubine's looms. Alabar's castle signs of fading power was the king's incapacity to satisfy the sexual passions of his wives. Another was the debut of wrinkles or gray hairs with their indiscreet announcement of decline. Heretofore, Alabar had not considered this tradition unfair. After all, were the king allowed to grow senile and ill, would not his weakness infect his domain, interfering with the multiplication of cattle, causing beet crops to rot in the fields, disabling the men in battle, and generally perpetuating disease, delirium, and infertility among those who he ruled? And did not all intelligent people, which left out the Romans, hold this to be true? Why, in some nearby kingdoms, a slight blemish on the royal body, such as the loss of a tooth, was enough to bring about the death sentence. In Alabar's city, the execution was a ceremony of much dignity and aesthetic weight, the king's number one wife bearing the responsibility for delivering her husband's lips the poisoned egg. Among less civilized peoples in the region, the ruler was dispatched by crude, though perfectly sufficient, process of being knocked on the head. Heretofore, the ritual of putting the king to death had seemed to Alabar natural, inevitable, and just. But tonight he cursed that traitorous strand, that hoary banderole of mortality that waved so thoughtlessly from an otherwise dark temple. That skinny silver scroll upon which was written in letters bold enough for all of nature to read, an invitation to the burial mound. Oh, most unwelcomed air! From the lemony southern islands to the mountainous haunts of trolls, there was no honest person who could call King Alabar a coward. Numerous times he had risked his life in combat, exhilarant the cry of his charge. And why not? What was there in death to fear? Death was this world's tribute to the other world's bequest. To shun it was to cheat both sides. In yanking out the gray